Right. There are some studies, but mainly there are four theories that the researcher use as the foundational theories in this study. The first is the TAM theory, or technology acceptance model, by Davis 1989, about the perceived usefulness and the ease of use of AI technologies. The second one is the YASDT theory from Ryan and Desi 2020, or self-determination theory. It's about the autonomy, competence, and relatedness. And then the third one is the SRL theory by Zimmerman and Gizantas 2014. It's about how the students use AI in their independent learning, focusing on goal setting, monitoring, and reflections. And the last one is the critical AI literacy by Durfin and Hofner 2022, focusing on evaluation, prompting, and maintaining learner agency. So the method or the design of the study was explanatory sequential mixed methods. So there are two phases in the study. In the first phase, the researcher conducted a survey. Yeah, the survey involved 82 ELT students, and there are some questions that the students needs to respond, and it mainly focused on some constructs like AI engagement, and then usefulness, ease of use, and challenges. And the score of the questions representing the four themes here. They are adoptions, motivations, challenges, and emotional role of AI. And here are the results of the quantitative phase. So the data show that students in the ELT department shows high adoptions of AI. It's in the percentage of 97.6%, but the usage frequency is moderate. Moderate here means that some students used it in a high frequency, but some others use it rarely. And then the ease and usefulness of AI also belongs to the high category, shown by the mean score of 3.624. And the students mainly used AI for improving their language skills and also language components like writing, reading, and also improving their vocabulary. But the quantitative findings showed that there are some concerns that we need to address, like about the dependence and also the critical thinking lost. What about the trust? What about the trust when using AI? So the quantitative finding also reveals that students show low blind trust. It means that they don't blindly trust the results of AI. Sometimes they worried like, is it valid or is it not? Things like that. Yeah. Thus, students view AI as helpful but not fully reliable, because it is proven, like some student mentioned, that they, AI is generating fake references, for example. Okay. Next one is qualitative findings. The qualitative findings show some results. For example, it's about the accessibility and familiarity with AI that drive the adoptions of AI. So the students use AI because they consider its accessibility. For them, it's easy just to open the website and then to chat on it, and everything is answered like that. So it's accessible for the students, and they are familiar. They don't, for example, they don't need like the previous call technologies. They need special training and things like that. The second one, regarding the ease of use, the students consider it is easy, but prompting challenges persist, or sometimes they still have problems to create efficient prompts. Yeah, for example, sometimes when they use certain prompts, the AI cannot generate the expected answers. Next, uh, motivation balanced by fear of overuse. So actually, the student feels the potentials of AI make them motivated to use AI for learning English. But somehow, they also feel fear. Yeah, they have fear that they will overly depend on AI. So AI is valued for its affordability and efficient in writing and also for vocabulary mastery. And the concerns here are dealing with AI inaccuracy. Like I mentioned before, sometimes it's produced inaccurate or invalid answers. Distractions, especially the student mentioned that when they access AI using their mobile phone, especially, sometimes they get distracted easily. Some off-task things will distract them, like accessing social media, answering phone calls, and so on. The next one is fabricated references. When the user or the students ask AI to suggest some references for their articles, for example, sometimes the references are fake or fabricated. When the link is clicked, it's invalid. And this is one of the most interesting thing from this study, that this result cannot be found in the quantitative finding, which is about the use of AI as emotional companion. So one of the respondents mentioned that AI helped them to feel secure when they want to share something, when they feel stressed because of the study workload, for example. AI helped them feel secure to talk with a non-judgmental responses. So AI can be the emotional companion helping students to keep motivated to learn and can reduce their isolation. For example, when they feel lonely. Okay. And this is the integrations of the quantitative and the qualitative findings. And as you can see there on the left, the left column, you can see the interpretations. So AI use is widespread but situational. So the AI use here is not for, a sustainable use of AI for learning English, but more for like in a just-in-time manner. So it's situational, it's pragmatics, and driven by convenience rather than deliberate strategy. They use AI just because they feel it's easy, it's time-saving, and it's efficient for them. Next, students find AI intuitive but struggle with efficient prompting. They believe that AI helped them, but they still need to learn more about how to create effective prompts by learning AI literacy. The next one, AI mainly used for text-based, for example, for summarizing, for brainstorming, for paraphrasing, but not yet to improve students' communicative competence. Yeah, so this is the discussion part. So based on the study, AI is used as a practical assistant. It's helpful, but not yet as an integrated learning partner. So it's in line with Batista's et al. 2024, Boykel 2025, and Liu et al. 2024 study shown that in the initial stage, the use of AI is merely due to its practicality, but not yet for like pedagogical planning. Therefore, the ease of use in using AI doesn't guarantee the student's mastery. Yeah. Therefore, learners still need to learn, to have workshops, to join some trainings, to learn how to learn about prompt engineering, for example, to learn how to create effective prompts. And also to improve their evaluation skills, how to evaluate the responses generated by AI. The third one, AI here plays dual role. The first is the cognitive tool, of course, when it helps students to, for example, to solve their assignment, and it also becomes the students' emotional support when they feel lonely, when they feel stressed because of that assignment. It helps to, to talk to share, yeah, and it will suggest some ideas. to make you feel relief. The next one, there is a tension between autonomy and dependency. Yeah. While students can use AI to learn everywhere outside the classroom, but still somehow students worried of using AI, for example, too much. Yeah, they're worried that they will be dependent on AI. The next one is efficiency and creativity. Even though it is efficient, it's time saving, it helps students to finish the assignment quicker, but still, it somehow reduces their creativity or critical thinking. Therefore, there are calls for more explicit AI literacy and self regulation training in EFL context. So we come up to the conclusions here. So AI supports informal, autonomous, and affordable English learning. But learners remain cautious. They are aware of the dependency, and they are worried that their critical thinking will lose. And then AI function as an assistant, but not yet as a learning partner, because their use is still moderate. And then there is a need for a structured guidance and a critical AI literacy in EFL curricula. Okay. Then these are the pedagogical implication and future directions. So we need to integrate AI literacy in EFL curricula, for example, through the workshops or trainings on prompting, on evaluations, on the ethic of using AI, especially in Indonesia. I think we still don't have the policy of, for example, the tolerance or the percentage of the permissible AI use, for example. And we need to encourage students to do the self-regulated and reflective AI use, so we don't use the results from AI blindly, but we can evaluate it first. And then we need to maintain balance between technological support and human interaction. Next is to develop institutional policies for responsible AI use. The last one, for future research, it is suggested that future research can involve larger and diverse samples, and some longitudinal studies can be conducted, and the objective measures of the language improvement needs to be carried out. Okay, thank you. That's all. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
So any presenter that has been present yet here? Ada yang belum presentasi di sini? Nggak ada, nggak ada presenter lagi. Bu Emma mau present tomorrow. Berarti sudah selesai ya? No presenter. Benar, nggak ada yang presentasi lagi. Okay, I think for this session is enough, and then we will go back to 8th floor. Jadi kita kembali ke lantai 8 lagi ya. Tidak ada Q&A. Because people's going upstairs di lantai 8, and everybody has waited us in the 8th floor. Thank you very much.
Cek, satu. Satu, dua, cek. 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 Langsung dari sini aja. Gua mati lagi earphone-nya anjir. Cek, satu. Enggak aman ya? Cek.
Dari tanah Cirebon yang kaya akan sejarah, peradaban Islam tumbuh dan menyebar luas melalui jejak agung Sunan Gunung Jati. Warisan keilmuan dan kebijaksanaan beliau menjadi akar dari peradaban yang terus hidup hingga hari ini. Universitas Islam Negeri Siber Syekh Nurjati Cirebon hadir sebagai pelanjut jejak tersebut. Sebuah universitas Islam berbasis siber yang memadukan nilai-nilai keislaman dan inovasi digital untuk membentuk generasi yang unggul, berakhlak, dan siap mendunia. Dengan 6 fakultas, UIN Siber Syekh Nurjati Cirebon menjawab tantangan digitalisasi tanpa meninggalkan nilai-nilai Islam. Setiap fakultas dirancang untuk melahirkan lulusan yang kompeten dan berintegritas. Fakultas Ilmu Tarbiyah dan Keguruan. Fakultas ini berfokus pada pendidikan dan pengembangan tenaga pendidik profesional yang memiliki kompetensi dalam bidang ilmu kependidikan dan keislaman. Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Islam. Di fakultas ini, mahasiswa mengembangkan kajian ekonomi yang berbasis pada prinsip-prinsip syariah. Fakultas Usuluddin dan Adab. Fakultas ini menawarkan berbagai program studi yang berfokus pada kajian keislaman klasik dan kontemporer dengan pendekatan akademik, filosofis, dan historis. Fakultas Dakwah dan Komunikasi Islam.
Cek.
Dari tanah Cirebon yang kaya akan sejarah, peradaban Islam tumbuh dan menyebar luas melalui jejak agung Sunan Gunung Jati. Warisan keilmuan dan kebijaksanaan beliau menjadi akar dari peradaban yang terus hidup hingga hari ini. Universitas Islam Negeri Siber Syekh Nurjati Cirebon hadir sebagai pelanjut jejak tersebut. Sebuah universitas Islam berbasis siber yang memadukan nilai-nilai keislaman dan inovasi digital untuk membentuk generasi yang unggul, berakhlak, dan siap mendunia. Dengan 6 fakultas, UIN Siber Syekh Nurjati Cirebon menjawab tantangan digitalisasi tanpa meninggalkan nilai-nilai Islam. Setiap fakultas dirancang untuk melahirkan lulusan yang kompeten dan berintegritas. Fakultas Ilmu Tarbiyah dan Keguruan. Fakultas ini berfokus pada pendidikan dan pengembangan tenaga pendidik profesional yang memiliki kompetensi dalam bidang ilmu kependidikan dan keislaman. Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Islam. Di fakultas ini, mahasiswa mengembangkan kajian ekonomi yang berbasis pada prinsip-prinsip syariah. Fakultas Usuluddin dan Adab. Fakultas ini menawarkan berbagai program studi yang berfokus pada kajian keislaman klasik dan kontemporer dengan pendekatan akademik, filosofis, dan historis. Fakultas Dakwah dan Komunikasi Islam.
Loh.
Good afternoon, Professor. Bu Listi. Kalau dari random. PPT-nya. Yang tadi dikirim di link pertama. Di link pertama. Di link pertama yang saya kirim.
Halo, halo. Iya. Cek ya. Bismillah. Din.
Langsung ya? Siap. Oke. PPT-nya, Mas. Iya. Tolong ya sayang. Dulu Mas, PPT-nya Mas. Ini dulu ada apa nih?
Tolong duduk yang terstruktur ya, teman-teman. Oke.
Ini belum dicolok kita.
Ini sama video ya nanti. Ini serius sekarang banget. Oke. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Ulang. Sorry. Good afternoon again, everyone, and welcome back to the 22nd AsiaCALL International Conference 2025. We are now continuing with parallel session 2. Each presenter will have 20 minutes in total for their presentation, including the Q&A session. I kindly remind all presenters to manage their time effectively. My name is Laili Dwi Islami Azahra from Siber Syekh Nurjati Cirebon, and it's an honor for me to serve as the moderator for this parallel session on perspectives and perception on language teaching. In this session, everyone, we will explore various perspectives and research on enhancing perspective and perception on language teaching through engaging and interactive learning experience. And each presenters will have 20 minutes in total for the presentation, including time for the questions and answer. Let us now begin our session, everyone. To begin this session, we have Miss Indah, Miss Cindi, and Miss Yumna from Siber Syekh Nurjati Cirebon. Their presentation is titled AI-Driven Evaluation of Emotional and Aesthetic Dimension in Indonesia, Grade 8 English Reading Assessment with the PISA 2022 Literacy Framework. Mr. Indah, Mr. Cindi, and Miss Yumna, you all will have 5 minutes to deliver your presentation. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, fellow participants, presenters, and professor. It is a great honor to be here today to have the opportunity to present our research in this time. We are here to present our research titled AI-Driven Evaluations of Emotional and Aesthetic Alignment in Grade 8 English Assessment within the framework of PISA 2022 Literacy. To begin, let me briefly introduce the background of my study. So, Indonesia's education system continues to face challenges as many students are able to read but they do not understand what they are reading. Since the proclamation of independence, Indonesia has revised its curriculum 11 times. Yet I'm sorry, I need the PPT. Mas PPT-nya. Yet the learning outcomes didn't improve. In the PISA 2022, Indonesia is ranked 69 out of 81 participating countries with a literacy score of 359, far below the global average of 476. Similarly, in the English Proficiency Index, Indonesia is ranked 18 out of 116 countries, categorize Indonesia as a country with low proficiency. However, the access to formal education in Indonesia has not been matched by the improvement in the quality of the learning outcomes. Approximately 70% of students in Indonesia have yet to demonstrate basic literacy skills, and then our study will analyze the grade 8 English textbook published by the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology in 2022 titled English for Nusantara with three main framework: PISA 2022, Reading for Emotions, and Aesthetics Principles. Okay, now let me briefly introduce you to the framework. Okay, the first framework that we use in this research is the PISA 2022 Reading Framework. According to the PISA, reading frameworks means the ability to evaluate, understand, Okay, I'm sorry, let me continue my explanation. According to the PISA 2022 Reading Framework, reading literacy means the ability to understand, use, evaluate, and reflect on written text to achieve personal goals and participate effectively in society. It involves three main processes. First is finding information, understanding meaning, and evaluate or using information critically. And the second framework that we use is reading for emotion, as proposed by Aulia in 2017. It consists of 6 stages of emotions: focus, disturbance, dialogue, development, resolution, and moral, which is important in learning. And the last theoretical framework that we use is aesthetic principle to support the reading for emotions. Aesthetic principle is proposed by Ramachandran and Hirsten in 1999, which consists of 8 principles, which are perceived. Which are perceived, grouping, contrast, isolation, and symmetry, perceptual problem solving, generic viewpoint, and metaphor. And that's all for the literature review. Next, my colleague is going to explain the research gap sections. The time is yours.
Now, let me explain about the research gap. So, previous study in Indonesia mostly focused on student cognitive skills or general reading strategies. However, very few explore how emotion and aesthetic contribute to reading comprehension. So far, there has been no study that combines the PISA 2022 reading literacy framework, the reading for emotion, and the aesthetic principles to analyze reading assessment. That's why this research aims to fill that gap by Quen AI to analyze how cognitive, emotional, and aesthetic elements in reading assessments. Next, in this study, we focus on three main questions. First, how are cognitive skills represented in the reading assessment based on the PISA 2022 reading literacy framework? Second, how are emotional aspects expressed in the reading for emotion assessment according to the reading for emotion model? And third, how are aesthetic principles reflected based on the neuroaesthetic framework by Ramachandra and Hirstein 1999. These three questions guide the study to see how reading assessment support not only thinking skills but also emotional and aesthetic understanding. Next, I will explain the method used in this study. This research conducted in the context of grade 8 in Indonesia lower secondary education, which is an important stage in developing student literacy before they participate in international assessments such as PISA. The object of this study is the English for Nusantara grade 8 textbooks, especially all of its reading assessment, assignments, and all test items developed by the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research, and Technology. This study applies a qualitative approach using the deductive content analysis guided by the three main frameworks. First, the PISA 2022 reading literacy, which focus on cognitive dimension. Second, reading for emotion by Lyon 2017, which emphasize emotional dimension. And third, neuroaesthetic principle by Ramachandra and Hirstein 1999, which emphasize the aesthetic aspect of the text. The data analysis were analyzed used by Miles, Haberman, and Saldana models, which includes data condensation, data display, and conclusion drawing and verification. To ensure the accuracy and objectivity, this study was also supported by AI assistant through Quen AI. The next presentation is Yumna.
Now I will explain about the cognitive suitability based on PISA 2022 reading literacy framework. As you can see in the table number 1 that show a cognitive suitability, there are three main of cognitive suitability. First is access and retrieve. Access and retrieve solve with high frequently because it have 89 questions and 68% that show a student still having get the information from the textbooks. Second is understanding. Understanding shows with 27 questions with 21% from the point that show students is already connecting the ideas. And last is about the evaluate and reflect. Evaluate and reflect only shows with 10% and 12 questions. It shows that the students still cannot really learn about the critical thinking.
can conclude that they show that the textbook support basic comprehends, but this does not support PISA 2022 uh, of the higher order thinking. So the future need that we need to material needs more tasks that support the evaluate and reflections. Next is analysis results. Based on Lian framework analysis result, the higher is development with 35% and disturbance with 28%. It shows that student lead to the plot. The second is resolution and moral, only 8% and 9% show that students cannot get the moral from the story. And the dialogue only stage with 2% show that students cannot encourage empathy. The exam questions only shows the question that what happened then, that how might happen to Pradit feels. Material support, narrative outstanding but emotional and moral engagement still minimal, reducing the transformative potential of the gap and reading experience. Last is analysis results. For the aesthetic analysis shows that the generic viewpoints only get 30% and grouping only 24% dominate, then supporting readability for grade 8 students. However, deeper symbolic principle like metaphor only 8% and peak shift 2% are rarely present. For example, like greedy fishermen that only show that greed, perceptual problem solving 8% of the limit, meaning students face ambiguity, interference, and interpretive thinking. Across the unit, that pattern is consistent. Material are clear and accessible, do not fully encourage emotional depth, symbolism, or creative thinking, interpretation. For the future curriculum, we need to design include more of empathy, symbolize, and understanding.
To conclude, the study found that English for Nusantara Grade 8, published by the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology, is not encourage students to think critically and emotionally and aesthetically. Most of the questions ask students only to access and retrieve, which are basic components of PISA, and then the higher order thinking skills such as evaluate and reflect are already assessed. And then emotionally, the question emphasizes development and disturbance, which grades, but it misses the dialogue and moral stage, which are not which are also important because because dialogue and moral can help students to build empathy and reflections. And then aesthetically elements rely on generic viewpoint and grouping, while metaphor and peak shift are rarely to be seen. And overall, the tasks are answer clarity, but it not encourage our students to think critically, emotionally, and aesthetically, and to the future curriculum developer or textbook writer, we have a suggestion to not design a book that is only well structured and easy to understand, but you have to create the book that is balanced between the cognitive and the affective part of the learning. And that's all from us. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the insightful and well presented talk. We will now move to the Q&A session. If anyone from the audience has a question, please raise your hand and mention your name. Okay, if there's one to asking. Thank you, Ms. Indah and Ms. Cindi and Ms. Yumna for your clear and thoughtful response. The session will now be continued by next presenter. Now, moving on to our second presenters, Ms. Sophie and Ms. Cahya from UIN Siber Syekh Nurjati Cirebon. Their presentation is titled Inclusive Language Education for the Visually Impaired, AI-Based Evaluation of Emotion and Accessibility in Multimodal Storybook. Ms. Sophie and Ms. Cahya, you have 15 minutes for your presentation. Please begin when you are ready.
Okay, thank you for the warm greetings, moderator, and thank you for participants to joining this session. Thank you for introduce ourselves. So when we're talking about education, we often recall the UNESCO's. Could you please? Okay, when we're talking about education, we often recall UNESCO's long-standing vision of education for all. And this global movement is remind us that education is not privilege for a few, but a right for everyone. Okay, today we would like to take you on a small journey into a story about a girl snake and how emotion can make learning more inclusive. Today, technology, especially AI, can help us design and evaluate the inclusive storybook. Okay, let's begin with a simple question. What makes a story truly inclusive? Do you know one? Do you know? All right. Is it just not because the storybook include Braille or it has voice version, but that sometimes story can be accessible but not emotional live, and that's exactly what inspired us to reading this paper. Okay, move to the research background. In recent years, Indonesia has made a great effort to promote inclusive education, but many visual impaired students still struggle to getting the same learning experience as others. Storybook in Braille or audio format have helped them access the learning material, but many of these books do not build the emotional connection that makes learning more meaningful. Because for students, language is not only something they read or they listen to, it's something they can feel. And emotion here can help them to understand, remember, and connect what they learn. But this part is often missing in material made for them. Today, technology, especially AI, can help us give us a new ways to look at this problem. All right, so Our research is focused on analyze the storybook published by the Minister of Education in Indonesia with title Pills Untuk Koperasi. We want to explore that not only whether the book is actionable, but also how it expresses emotional through language. Using artificial intelligence, we can see which part strong emotional and which part less feels ingenuine. So after that, we suggest you for everyone to use this storybook that can do in English classroom. So the learning not more inclusive but also more emotion and more emotional for others. Okay, please next slide. You can review. Inclusive education means giving students the same opportunity to learn, including those with disabilities. In Indonesia, this idea is the part of education for all program and sustainable development goals number 4. But in reality, not all children can access inclusive learning yet. According to Nindy 2004, only around 80% of students receive the inclusive education. And many visual impaired students still struggle because the teachers are not well trained and the material may not balance. And here our situation. Thus the text line will establish a work for inclusive education, UDL, UNESCO, social emotional learning, and reading for emotion model. And second, it will both be suitable for English language platform or visual impaired students in Indonesia, particularly in our resources centers. So this next slide. And here are our methodology that we use. Here we use qualitative design approaches. We analyze the main data, main text. As I mentioned before, we use pills of our passive storybook, and the data were taken from the content types of pills of our passive. Okay, please next slide. And here how we analyze the text. First of all, we translate the text in Indonesian to English version to know the emotions and language across from the text, and we use AI-based emotion detection. We use Strength AI to identify emotional expression as a principle and investigation. And after we analyze the text with Strength AI, we interpreted AI results to understand emotional and more inclusive representation. The next slide is about key finding and discussion will be delivered by my
of Q&A. Would anyone like to ask the first question? Well, here,
Okay, so your research shows scoreboard, right? So you state that you highlight that we should, if we make a thesis or let's say it's a right? We should highlight and like some stories, books. Do you have some recommendation that it looks like it will connect to your topic today? And you stated also about emotional cues. What do you mean by emotional cues there, but in that research area, as you make this study, right? Because you just give the definition without giving the real meaning of it behind it. That's all. Thank you.
thank you for your question. Something and Samuel, please go ahead and give yours.
Could you please explain again what you want to ask? Please make it more simple.
It's a simple way because most of the time that you guys, it's no offense, but when you present in front, you're just giving the definition without explaining it well. So you're giving up words without giving the real meaning behind it. Let's say the emotional cues behind your research. We cannot understand it well without giving the real behind it. And also about your study, you didn't give what's behind it, why you give those study, why you make those study. We don't know behind it because you're just simplified, you're just reading it. Can you give some more deeper explanation about it? Because earlier your PPT also is not being there, so we don't know where part you are reading. That's all.
Ladies and gentlemen, the topic that digital tools and software for our learning institution. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all our presenters for their excellent work and to all participants for your kind attention through the session. Thank you again for your active participation. We can invite all presenters and participants to return to the 8th floor as the conference will continue with the next keynote presentation. Please make sure to be seated online. Thank you, and let's give one final big round of applause to all our presenters.
Kan bawa ke